Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. I hope you're all well. Today I'm going to be showing you how you can add the Beluga station line to any airport in X-Plane, and I mean any, so it doesn't matter if it's custom or default. For those of you who don't know, the Beluga station line is a building that comes with the $0 payware scenery of Harden, and it's actually just a building that connects to the nose of the aircraft of the Beluga, and then the nose is able to open up inside the warehouse where they can perform safe cargo operations without having to be obstructed with certain issues such as winds, high-end winds, and different issues like that. Now obviously the Beluga station line has been modelled in this scenery, and if you purchase the Beluga you will get the scenery for free. So obviously that would be the first requirement for if you're wanting to do this today. You will need the $0 payware and of course the Beluga as well. And like I said, you can add this to any airport. I do believe that there isn't another airport in the sim that provides this kind of detail yet. Only $0 payware have done it in their rendition of Harden, but I do believe that there are BLS facilities at Hamburg, and there are also some at Toulouse as well. Today I'm going to be showing you how to put it into an airport, so we're going to be using Hamburg as an example. We're going to be using the default Hamburg just to make it easier, as I believe that's what most people are using, and I'm going to show you how you can set it up today. Okay, so the first part of this video, we're going to find the Harden scenery folder by $0 payware, which is either going to be in your custom scenery folder or your inactive scenery. You can have a few folders here. The one that we're focused on today is the objects folder. You're going to see two folders called buildings and MISC. We're basically going to want to create a new folder twice in the scenery that we are going to be importing the Beluga station line to. So whatever scenery you would like to put it into, so Toulouse or Hamburg, we're going to be doing Hamburg, so you would go to your Hamburg scenery, for example. You would make an objects folder if you don't already have one, and then inside the objects folder we're just going to create two new folders called buildings and MISC, and you're going to want to make sure that inside both of them there is a textures folder that is also added inside. That's very important, and this is obviously going to separate the files between the objects and the textures. Now as you can see, there is a lot of files in here when you click into buildings. Do not panic, we are only going to be needing a select few, and I'm going to put that down in the description, and in the next clip you'll also see specifically how it should look like. So we will be taking a few files from here, we'll be taking a few files from the textures folder, and we'll also be taking just two files from the textures folder in the MISC section. So something to note, and I'm going to show you how that's going to look now. So we're now looking at our scenery pack that we're going to be importing our Beluga station line into today. Now this is a default gateway scenery from X-Plane, so you probably wouldn't have an objects folder here, so just go ahead and create a new folder called objects, and then inside you're going to have your two new folders that we created from the $0 payware. Now, not to cause confusion, I did rename the buildings folder to Airbus, just so it's obviously easier to point out obviously what we're working on, but just to clarify no confusion or any mistakes, the Airbus folder is the buildings folder. So anything I do with Airbus is going to come from the buildings folder, just for you to know. The MISC of course is the same as the folder as it always was. Now if we double click the Airbus folder, you're going to see that I've set up the folder to the way that it should be. So I've taken the object files from the main directory that are needed for the Beluga station line. You can take a moment to pause this video and use this as a reference to copy the objects that you're going to need for today. And then of course we have a textures folder which is on the left, and of course I said you needed to make your own subdirectory for the files, which is here, and then obviously this is where all of the textures would be put, all of the NMLs and different things like that. So again, you can take another moment to locate these files and pop them into the textures folder. Now the other folder, which is the MISC folder, is very simple. It's just a textures folder, and it only has two files in there, which is 320 wing and 320 wing NRM. Those are the only two things you need to worry about, and that is pretty much it. You have now set up everything ready to import the Beluga station line into your scenery. Okay, so the next step we're going to do is we're going to open up a program called Overlay Editor, which we're going to be using today, as in my opinion, I think it's probably the easiest way to show you with this program. If you don't know where to download Overlay Editor from, I will post a link in the description. And once you have Overlay Editor open, you're going to have a little program like this. You're going to have two folders in the top left hand corner. You're going to want to press the second folder, which says Open Scenery Pack. We're going to open Echo Delta Hotel India, which is Hamburg, and we're going to let the program load all of the libraries. It may represent us with an error that says that it can't load the airport data. That's just due to an older version of X-Plane. Do not panic or worry about that. It's then going to load the terrain textures and any objects that you have in your folders. Do be advised that if you have bigger sceneries that you are willing to add this to, it may take a bit longer for Overlay Editor to actually bring up your airport. But today should be fairly quick because we only have the actual stuff from the Beluga. You may get a few issues like this that it can't read the drape signs. Just press OK. 9 times out of 10 you're going to be okay. You can see here we have Hamburg, and this is the default Hamburg, of course. Now, to obviously utilize the program as easy as possible, I would probably recommend that you get used to the actual controls with your keyboard and your mouse. So with the scroll, you're able to zoom in and zoom out on certain places that you need to go to. You're able to use your commands on your keyboard to move the camera, and this can be also very useful when you're wanting to move around with the left and right arrows if you're needing to look at what direction something needs to be inputted. You can see here straight in front of me that this is our Beluga station line that I have already imported to the scenery, but I'm going to show you how you can import your own. So the best way to do this, I've found, is if you find a nice piece of land which is clear around here somewhere, and you just zoom in, and it doesn't matter if you have land here or anything like that. You just want to make sure that you're away from the airport, because there are a lot of conflicting things such as polygons and different things like that that can obviously get in the way. And while you're doing this tutorial, if you are suffering with that and you keep picking up certain things, there is a lock here where you're able to lock certain polygons, and that will stop Overlay Editor trying to select different files, and it will be useful for the next step that we're going to do now. So on the right hand side you can see all of the objects in this package, and you can see the doors, you can see the floor, the platforms. So we are basically going to have to build all of these objects together to make it as one. Now with Overlay Editor they've actually made that really easy for you, so you don't actually have to spend half an hour trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together. It will do automatically for you. And the easiest way for that to be done is to either use your keyboard and use the insert key, or to use the plus on the top left hand corner in Overlay Editor. So we can go to BLS doors here, and you can add this building here if you want to, the BLS2. I didn't actually add it because it's the only object that is not essentially needed with the Beluga station line itself. So if you would like to add it, you can. I just skipped it out for this tutorial, as I'm just focusing on the station line itself. So you can see here we have the Beluga doors, and when you press the plus sign in the corner you can see that we have now added the door. Now as you go along and you click the next file and you press add, and you continue pressing add, you're going to see that all of the parts of the object are starting to be built together. Now of course me pressing plus can be a bit time consuming for some people if they want to do it a bit quicker. You can click the next one and you can press insert on your keyboard, which is next to the home button, just next to your backspace, and you're able to quickly press insert on each item, and that basically allows you to insert the items as quick as possible into the editor itself. Do not be alarmed if sometimes you click on a object and it freezes on you. Sometimes objects are larger than others and it takes a few moments for Overlay Editor to actually give you a preview or a render preview of the actual object itself. So we're going along and we're adding all of the internal platforms, and then we will start adding the walls. And as you can see, slowly we are starting to build our warehouse. And do not panic if you do get some red and white lines on here. I know that this is obviously a texture that it is missing, but it's not actually affecting anything. I did double check that before. Obviously the wings there are from the A320, which would be inside the warehouse as normal. And then we have the lights that we just added, and then we can add the final 5 pieces of the puzzle, which will be the base. So we can add the first part, the second part, and now you can see that the hangar itself is pretty much complete now. We just need to add the last 2 pieces, which is 4 and 5. And once you've done that, you will have your entire Beluga warehouse here. And obviously most of you are thinking, well, how do I move the Beluga station now to where I want it to be? So now that you've got your object and it's all intact as one, what you can do is you can basically zoom out a little bit. You can click in an empty space here until everything is deselected, and then you can hold and click and drag your mouse across, and you will see that a box is created, and it's going to highlight every single item that it can find within that section. Now this is why it's important to do this in a place where there are no other objects underneath you, otherwise it will try and drag those objects as well. If you are experiencing issues with that, this is where the lock comes into place, because you will be able to lock the polygons on the ground, and that allows you just to focus on the object at hand. But once we have selected our object here, you will gain much more freedom and much more movement if you zoom out further. The closer you are to the ground, the slower the object will move. The further away from the ground you are, the quicker the object will move in space, as you can see. Now you can use your A, D, S and W on your keyboard, so WASD, and you're able to utilize those commands to move your object around to where you need it to be. If you would like more preciseness, or you would like it to be quicker, you can use the Shift key and then use D or any of the buttons that you wish to use, and you're going to see that it actually manipulates the object to move much quicker than it would normally. And if you use the Control key, it's going to allow you to again manipulate the object, but it will be very, very slow, and it will be very precise, especially if you're trying to move the object into a specific place where you need the object to be obviously placed. Now here we already have the Beluga hangar, but as you can see it would need to be changed a little bit here, so we can use the Q and the E on our keyboard. Now using Q and E actually changes the rotation of the object, and when you're happy with it, you're able to move it up and place it in line wherever you feel you're comfortable with the station being. And once you're happy with the location and everything has been inputted properly, you can press the save button in the top left hand corner, and then you'd be able to load into the sim straight away and see if you're happy with the location. Now just a quick reminder, some people will be doing this, and certain airports will have a slight difference to what it shows on Overlay Editor. So for example, on here the Beluga station is where it is on the map, but in some airports you may put it where it is on the map as you're seeing, and when you load into the airport it actually may be much closer to the taxiway. So sometimes you're having to deal with doing a bit of a guesstimate, but of course you're able to be in the sim and just save your changes and then reload the scenery straight away in the sim to see what you obviously need to amend. But when you're happy, you have imported your Beluga station line and it is obviously in the sim, so when you're happy with your object you can go and save, and you've now successfully imported your Beluga. Now we just need to sort out the animations in sim. Just before we move on to our animation section quickly, I just wanted to also note that some people may be looking at the airport from this angle, and they may be experiencing some issues as they are trying to get a better angle to see what way they can actually place their objects into the sim. So the best way to do that is to use your home and end key, which again is just above your arrows. So if you use the end key, it's going to basically allow you to move your camera and rotate it to essentially where you need it to be. For some reason, overlay editor has decided to not respond on me. There we go, it's come back. So you can see that you're able to move the camera with the end key, and you can also use the home key to move it back to where you need it. And that way you can get a proper angle on what you're needing to work on, and making sure that obviously everything is correctly lined up for your alignment and placement of the object. So something just quickly to note. Okay, so we're back in the sim. We're now at Hamburg, and we can see our newly imported Beluga station line is where we've placed it on the side here. I'm not actually sure where they have it specifically in Hamburg, but just for reference, obviously the aircraft is over there and the main runway is over there, so you're able just to come down this ramp here, and obviously right at the end you have the Beluga line waiting for you. Now obviously we have no animations or anything like that at the moment, because the system that uses the animation, which is SAM, doesn't know anything about the object, so we are going to obviously have to program that into SAM and tell it what it is. And that's pretty straightforward. All we're going to have to do is make sure that you do have SAM installed through the SAM suite, and then you'll have it accessible through the plugins menu. You can go down and you can find SAM, and then we're going to open up the authoring tool. Now inside the authoring tool you're going to have a few options. We're going to start off by going to sceneries, and we're going to add SAM to our Hamburg scenery. Now you're going to have to do this to any airport that you add the Beluga station line to, because obviously SAM is going to have to be utilized at this airport now. So we're going to add SAM. It's going to choose the scenery that we need to add SAM to, so we're going to choose Echo Delta Hotel India scenery pack, which is Hamburg, and then of course we can just name it Echo Delta Hotel India SAM as our label for the airport, just so we know what it is, and then we can just press add SAM, and there we go. SAM has now been added to the airport, nice and simple. Now what we need to do is we need to add the data refs for the door. Now if you don't know, there are two doors on the Beluga station line. One is for the standard and one is for the XL. AnyBuild's actually got $0 payware to model both. I don't know if that's a little spoiler or a little teaser for the future if they do release the XL as well. So we're going to obviously have a look at sorting out both of these. So if you go to the data ref section and you go to edit a data ref, you're going to see at the top that we have a few doors here. We have hangars and radars, but if you scroll down right at the bottom, you're going to see that we have two entries here called ST doors and XL doors. Now we're going to add both of these today, so we're going to click ST's doors, we're going to save it as ST doors, we're going to save the data ref, and then we're going to go back and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to find XL doors and we will save the data ref. Now that we've added the two data refs, we can now go and we can assign an object instance. So we can now go down to the standard doors at the bottom, and you'll see that there is now a data ref here, and if you click this data ref, it's going to give you a few options, and of course we have a toggle animation now. Now obviously if you click the animation, it's going to show you the door opening in real time, so we can click that again and you'll see that the door is closing. So you can use that just to double check that you have got the file working, and it does work. Now it's going to ask us to type in some information. So obviously this is the controls page entry, so we can just put in the SAM ST doors, and this is the button default and the button toggled. So basically this is how it's going to look for the button when you're selecting the door. So obviously by default the door will be closed, so the default button that we will probably have is open. So when you click it, the door will open, and then it will obviously give an option then to close the door. So we will place that as such. We will change the description to ST doors, sorry, the entry title to ST doors. You can also add a description as well. It pretty much just does add the same thing underneath. So if you would like to just be assertive, you can change it like that. And then of course, once you have all of those popped in, you can then press create checkbox. And then if you scroll down, we're going to do the same thing for XL doors. So you can highlight the data ref here, you can toggle the animation, and you can see that the outer door is now opening because that is obviously the larger door. You have the same features from the ST door originally, so if you would like to, you can just amend those and change them to XL, of course, which we'll do like so. And once that's done, we can then press create checkbox. And now once you've done that, you should be able to close the authoring tool, and now whenever you're flying in to Hamburg, or the scenery that you've decided to do this, when you arrive up to the Beluga station line, as you're taxiing in to the warehouse, you'll be able to stop in front of the door, or just before so, and in fact I think you can actually do this while you're taxiing in. I think where you are on the ground anyway, you should be able to do this, so something for you to have a little try out with. But should be able to go to the plugins menu, we go to SAM, we go to Airport Operation System, and let it load just for a few seconds, and you're going to see now that we have not only a parking, but we have a controls section as well. So when you press controls, it's going to now represent us with ST doors and XL doors. Now it gives us the option to open both of them, so if we click open on both, you're going to see that both of the doors are now opening in real time like they would in Harden, and that basically shows that you have successfully got it working at the airport that you have decided to implement it in. These doors will stay open, and then obviously when you're ready you can close the doors themselves, and it will obviously work in real time. And the Beluga itself will work. Obviously if you would like to add a parking position to the Beluga, that's obviously slightly different because it would require you going into WED and placing a parking position onto where the Beluga ramp is. It's not the hardest thing in the world, but obviously what we've done today is much simpler to do, and obviously works straight out of the box, so it's very handy. Okay, so we have successfully made our Beluga station line. We've been able to connect our Beluga aircraft properly, and you can see the doors are closing like they normally do, and you can see there is no difference compared to where we were in Harden. This will work the exact same, and I really hope you did enjoy the video, and I hope that it helps you for your future flights, as I obviously did feel a bit underwhelmed when I found out that the Beluga station line was obviously only made for the Harden scenery, and now that we have the opportunity to import it to other sceneries that the Beluga flies to, I feel like it makes that immersion and obviously much more enjoyable flight as well. But I do hope that you enjoyed the video. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to subscribe for future content like this one. We'll have some more tutorials coming out, and if you have any suggestions of videos that you would like to see, please don't hesitate to let me know. In the meantime though, enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.